What's up, people? I am back for another video. I'm gonna do Above the Law another time, like maybe next week or something, because I figured I've been wanting to do this video for a bit now. Since I had fun talking about Cobra Kai last week, why not talk about Supernatural? This is a show I've been wanting to talk about for a long time, but because how many seasons there were, I didn't know because I already remember my Buffy video being kind of long that it splintered into two videos. Granted, it was with a different phone, but even like the Cobra Kai video is like an hour 22 minutes, and that's 6 seasons. Buffy 7 seasons, Angels 5 seasons. So that's like I can make that 30 to 40 minutes to an hour. Even like if I ever, I think I'm gonna do that with Stranger Things probably when it comes out too, whenever the finale part comes out. But why not finally do it? I like I said, I thought of a way to do it. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna talk about the first 7 seasons in this video. So this is probably gonna be a long video. This could be about the same length as the Cobra Kai one. And then tomorrow I'm gonna do part two. Or part two meaning it'll be like the last 7 seasons from seasons 8 to 15. So I figured why not start with the first 7 and splinter it into 2 videos. 2 days of content. So, but Supernatural was a show. I'll be honest, I didn't watch when it came out. I didn't. I remember it being big. I definitely remember just even because I like back in like around 2008 when I watched SmackDown. I remember I'd always see trailers for Supernatural. It was back in 2008. SmackDown was on the CW at the time. So I would remember seeing like Supernatural ads, and it didn't hit me because at the time I, not to an extent, still do look down on CW shows. So I was like, this looks kind of teen boppy. So I never watched it. I didn't start watching it until 2000, maybe 22 is when I first watched it. It was because, partially it was because of Buffy. Because I think I finished my Buffy watch through at the time. Yeah, I finished my Buffy and Angel watch through. So I figured, why not find something else? Find something else to watch. And I learned about Supernatural and I looked into it. I was like, oh, this show actually sounds like it could be interesting. And boy, don't be alarmed of the 15 seasons because I really feel like you can get through, especially those first 8. I think you can get through those first 8 seasons pretty quick. Like, it goes quicker than you think. I think, especially those first, like, let's say the first 5, especially, like, those just go quick because a lot of it is like mainly you do have big story arcs, especially in like some of the layers, but they mainly do focus on like monster of the week. It's what Dean and Sam are hunting. And I think what hooked me immediately was the relationship with the brothers. It was just the simplicity of it. You know, their mom died, was killed by a demon, and then Sam's girlfriend dies, so because Sam left the life because they are hunters who hunt down monsters. So they know like the reality that like vampires, werewolves, all those kind of ghosts and all that and demons exist. And they were hunters. They were raised as hunters. But Sam left the life because he had a conflict with his dad, John, played by Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who's great in this show. Another thing that hooked me about the show was how adult it is. Because I'll be honest, I thought it was going to be one of those teeny boppy shows. Because I even checked out like some of the Flash and Arrow, and that's why I never stuck with those shows because I felt like they were kiddie and very teen boppy and like young teen drama. And that's what I thought Supernatural was, which I was wrong. Supernatural is not that. It's very adult. You have a lot of blood. The soundtrack, oh my god, especially as someone who likes old rock and metal, bruh, the soundtrack for the show is fucking great. They play Alice in Chains, Rooster in season 2. I think they play Man in the Box too. They play AC/DC a lot of it. A couple times they played Metallica. A lot of old rock, very much because their father appreciated old music. You know, the Impala, or Baby, as Dean calls it. I just love the show. Even some of the later seasons where they do go more towards, like, they start bringing in angels and demons and God, obviously, by the end, which I'll just spoil, and that's gonna be more for the next video because that's in season 15. I don't love that they made God the villain. I'm not a big fan, not even just because like the religious implications. I just think that's where the show, I feel like, jumped the shark a bit. And I do like Chuck, because Chuck starts off as a prophet, but then they eventually just made him God. And I liked his character. I didn't like that they just decided he's a bad guy now because we needed the like up the ante. You know what I mean? It felt like ham-fisted. Grant, I love Lucifer. He's like Lucifer, Michael. A lot of that lore, I do think this show does a really good job of explaining it. But I also do like I said, especially those first six, especially. I really feel like they do try to focus on, when it's Monster of the Week. We do have a little bit of tie-ins to the big story arcs, but we still focus on the isolated story. That's why I love this show so much, is the way it handles isolated stories of Steven, Dean, and Sam traveling around killing monsters. Obviously, by like, I think it's season 10, season yeah, I think it's season like 9 or 10 when they get the bunker. But I really do love, and then the other characters like Cass, um, Crowley, who's fucking great, Rowena, Crowley's mom. Like, the characters around Dean and Sam are great, and just throughout the seasons. And I think that's what makes the show work, is the simplicity of it, and the escalation works. And I'm gonna say it, on rewatch, my favorite season is the first one. I think the simplicity of it, them just hunting. I love, like, there's no big overarching story really in the first season. Not really. Like, really, it's mainly them hunting monsters. Granted, they do confront Yellow Eyes, and John does show up in the end of the season. But largely, it's like towards the end is where you get like the big story, and you tie in with season 2 with Yellow Eyes and John unfortunately dying in the start of it. Um, Cass comes in season 4. Um, Meg, who's a great character, who you kind of see in the first season. Granted, when she becomes a demon, it's a different actress, which that happens sometimes. Like the original, hold on, what's her name? Ruby, who's a demon that Dean, Sam. Well, initially when you meet Ruby, it's played by um, hold on, I gotta look for her name. I can't think of her name right now. It's on my head. Katie Cassidy, and then later on gets recast. But it. I'll admit, Katie Cassidy's Ruby is definitely better. 'Cause Ruby comes in like around season 3, but then Dean, if you remember, by the end of season 4, or was it season 3, he goes to hell, and then he comes back. Yeah, it's overall, and I'm gonna go more into it when I start going into the season, which I think I'm going to now. But overall, Supernatural is a great show. I very much recommend it. There is a lot of lore, and like I said, it is a long show. You do have 15 seasons, but I do feel like you can get through the 8-9 seasons really quick. And honestly, the character work is what makes the show. Yeah, there's some weak seasons, obviously, and I'm not going to talk about it in this video, but season 12 is probably my worst season. Is the worst season of the show for sure. I didn't love what they did with season 2. I mean, 12. But even with that, there's still good episodes, and I still feel like there's still the character work between Dean and Sam. And that's the one thing I think what I love about the show is Dean and Sam themselves do not get destroyed. There's certain things, like, I'll be honest, the finale is shit, to where I think the season 15, episode 19, the episode where Jack becomes the new god, and Jack doesn't come in until season 13. To me, that's where the show ends, because I'll be honest, the actual finale is not good. But outside of that, I still think it's a good show all around. The characters for the most part are not ruined. You still are able to be captivated by some of the writing. Yeah, some of the writing does go down for sure in some of the later seasons, and there's some iffy picks, like decisions in like season 8, which we'll get to tomorrow. But overall, I still think Supernatural is great. Like, I think you can overlook some of the iffy writing and stuff if you just watch it just for Dean and Sam. And to me, that's what really, they're the heart of the show, and they, to me, do not get ruined at all. You know, they both go through interesting arcs. You know, Dean goes through the Mark of Cain arc, which happens in season 10, and then Sam has the Soulless Sam arc, which happens in 6, which we'll be talking about in this video. But anyways, let's get to it, because we are going to at least talk about 6 seasons, so 7 seasons anyway. Let's get to it. Other than that, we should be doing Dynamite tonight, reviewing that on the Pin Down channel, so look out for that. And then I think we should be also recording something tomorrow that we're going to upload to the channel on Saturday, so look out for that too. So the Supernatural part 2, I may have to try to do early tomorrow, just because I don't know what time we're going to be doing this recording, so yeah. Anyways, look out for that. And then Supernatural seasons 8 through 15 discussion will be tomorrow. And then Friday, we will be doing Tucker and Dale versus Evil. So, anyways, guys, let's get to it. So season 1, the first episode, pretty much you get the flashback of Sam and Dean's mom dying, getting killed by Yellow Eyes. And another thing about the show that's interesting, it doesn't really have an opening. It doesn't have opening credits, which like a lot of shows do. Which is kind of interesting. Show does have a theme song. And I can bet a lot of people have listened to this song from this movie. I'm actually one of the few who have already listened to this song way before the show. I'm one of the few who didn't listen to the song from the show, and that is Carry On Wayward Son by Kansas. That ends up because they always play that in every, from season 2 on, in every finale, like little, I guess it's like a recap. It's not really credits, but it's a recap of every recap of the season. They would always play Carry On Wayward Son. So that, in a way, just kind of became the show's theme song, you know? It is a great song, though. And it's kind of great to actually have listened to the song before actually watching the show. Because I can bet a lot of people have definitely listened to the song just from the show, which is great. Which is another reason I think I love this show, is how many people found certain songs because of this show. They play a lot of great music throughout the seasons. And yeah, but season 1, I think why it's my favorite season, it's just the simplest season. You know, it's the brothers. You know, you meet in the first episode, you meet Sam. He's in college. He has a girlfriend who's played by Adrienne Palicki, who ends up getting killed by the end because Dean asks Sam for his help. Who Sam and his father have been estranged because him and his father got into an argument. So, because Sam stopped hunting and decided to go to college. And Dean's father, is looking to, obviously, what happened to Mary, and looking for Yellow Eyes, who I thought was a great villain, who you don't actually meet this season. Well, you meet him in the end, but you don't meet for most of it, which is good. So Sam eventually agrees because his girlfriend ends up getting killed. So that's when he pretty much gets back into the life And a lot of that season is just them hunting different monsters. Yeah, there's some bad episodes. Like there's one episode is like Route 66 or 666 or 66, something like that, where there's a killer racist truck, which is fucking stupid. I'm sorry. But granted, I do like you had like a lot of simple like vampires. You had I think there was a werewolf. You had a Wendigo, shapeshifter. This is where you meet Bobby, who is one of my favorite characters of the show, reoccurring characters of the show. He's actually kind of the first of the start of like the reoccurring characters that start, because you don't Cass doesn't come till 4, and John is not. I don't really consider him a reoccurring character because you only see him for this season when he's actually alive, because he dies in the start of 2. So, and I do love the simplicity. I'm gonna say that a lot about season 1, because I think that's what makes it great. Is yeah, it's very much monster of the week. They strictly like you have stories that are getting tied together. Obviously, you start getting info from John. Like there's one episode they visit a friend, and I think this is a shapeshifter episode where you meet their psychic friend, who tells them about John, and actually turns out John's still alive, and feels like he needs to do his mission on his own to find Yellow Eyes. And then obviously by the end, it does tie it together with John making finally appearing to the boys. That's when Yellow Eyes confronts them and possesses a truck, and this is where you get the because his father gets captured, Yellow Eyes possesses him, and then this is where they find the cult, which pretty much kills demons. Um, and yeah, this is also where we meet Meg, who you think is a victim, but is actually trying to raise a demon. And because I think there's a part of the show where the Dean and Sam do get separated, because obviously they have. I like how real the show is. Kind of like with Buffy, is just how flawed Dean and Sam are. Yeah, the way they treat each other sometimes is very flawed, but it's really real. And I think that's what makes season 1 to me. It used to be 4. 4 is a really good season too. Because Cass, I like the Angel story. Zachariah was a pretty good villain. Even Uriel, who's kind of like a side villain. The stuff with Ruby, I did like season 4, but season 1 to me is probably the best season, just because how basic and almost bare bones it is, and a lot of it is just Dean and Sam. You are introduced to Bobby as a reoccurring character and had a pretty good finale, but I just like how kind of bare bones season 1 is. I think it's what makes it work for me. And a lot of it, like I said, it's Dean and Sam and their chemistry. Like you immediately, Jensen Ackles and Jared Padalecki had great chemistry, and obviously they actually feel like brothers, man. I think that's what's nice. They didn't just get two randoms who you're told, oh, they're brothers, but you don't actually feel that. No, like Jared and Jensen really pulled off the feeling of these are actual brothers. You bought their relationship. And I think that's why I really just love season 1. And I love the way it ends. You have a big like car accident in the end. And then season 2, this is basically where you kind of follow from 1 on John makes a deal with Yellow Eyes, that because Dean at the start is basically dying, that if he makes the deal that if John will give himself up if he lets Dean live. And that's when John dies. You have a last argument with John and Sam, unfortunately, before John dies. And this is where Bobby really gets started as a reoccurring character. This is where you had zombies, werewolves, hellhounds were first introduced. Because you had the Crossroad Demon first introduced. I do like and I think what I like about season two is like a good continuation of one. Is it's bare bones, but they do add some more stuff for sure. You know, Sam, full on, like I said, Bobby's a full on character as part of the show now. You also have Joe and Ellen. The only part of the show, because this is where Sam has like a little bit of like powers, kind of like he has like telepathy and he has visions and stuff like that. The only thing I didn't really care for was the part where he starts teaming up with other kids with special power. I didn't need that part of it. That felt too almost X-Men-y, especially for a second season. I was like, I think this kind of plot would have worked better in one of the later ones, to be honest, because that's when like you had God and angels and demons and all that stuff, and Satan, and or Lucifer. They called him Lucifer in this, Lucifer himself. So I think that kind of stuff would have worked better. That kind of plot would have worked better for one of the later seasons. Whereas I'm okay with it, but I do think it's one of the weaker parts of season two. But I do like the final confrontation with um because Dean made a deal, and because that's very much what season three is Dean made a deal. So, and then this is where the only part of three, I guess let me finish up with part season two really quick. Season two is pretty good. It's a very much a good follow up. I like a lot of the additions. I do like that season two does a good job of adding some bigger story arcs, but you still had that very much monster of the week. I think a lot of especially the early seasons, really did a good job of balancing the big story arcs and the monster of the weeks, or even having them be meshed. Like you would have a monster of the week story where sometimes they would go out for a hunt, and because maybe Dean or Sam wants to get their mind off what's going on with the bigger story. So sometimes they just, or if they're not getting anywhere doing research on a bigger thing going on, they're like, okay, let's just go on a hunt and get our mind off of it. Like I like it, but you still have the tie-in with the big arcs, but it still focuses on Dean and Sam and the Monster of the Week. That's why I like Monster of the Week. When done right, Monster of the Week is so fun because it's just like, what adventure are we going on today? I like big story arcs. Don't get me wrong. I think they're great, and especially if something all tied comes together. I'm all for that. But I do like Monster of the Week, X-Files, this show, Buffy, even like some procedurals, like a lot of those investigation shows, Bones. Where it's just Monster of the Week, or not even necessarily Monster of the Week, but just whatever they have to do with the week. Where investigation shows, you got Crime of the Week. Who's the killer they got to try to catch in this episode? It's an investigation. Or what I wanted Mandalorian to be, where it was like Bounty of the Week. That's what I wanted for the show. Even with Witcher, it should have been Monster of the Week. It should have been really Geralt just killing different monsters, especially the first season. This is where we meet Ruby. This is in season 3. Ruby is originally played by Katie Cassidy. He's actually one of the, because Katie Cassidy, to me, not a bad actress, but she's very hit and miss, because she's been in some good stuff. Like, I thought she was fine in Taken, even though she was more of a minor role, but she was really good in this show. She's actually one of the better parts of the Nightmare remake too. Who I actually figure probably should have been the lead in that, but she's really bad in the Black Christmas remake. So she's very hit and miss to me, but I do like her in this show. I really like her as Ruby. I thought she had good, um, uh, good chemistry with the boys. The only thing about this season I didn't really care for is Bella. I thought she was a weird, like, I as much as I like Lauren Cohen, I think if she had a more compelling story, but I felt like all she did in this season was just fuck over the boys constantly, because they would need something and she would steal it, And then I did like the one episode where they needed something, where Bella needed their help to steal something, so they went to like a party, and Sam had to go on a date with fucking some old lady who was constantly hitting on Sam earlier in the episode. That stuff was funny. Like, I think that's the other thing. The show is genuinely funny, but it also knew when to balance the humor and the serious stuff going on. It wasn't just like a lot of modern shows where like kind of everything has been infected with that, like, you know, you want to call it Marvel humor, you know, with that's been infected with everything. This was before that, so you were still allowed to have different style of chemistry and or comedy. That's what I meant to say, of comedy, and just and actually knew how to balance it and actually still take itself seriously. And then this is where we meet Lisa, who's an old flame of Dean's, who has a son, and obviously they set up that she eventually, in a way, should have been Dean's, like, because a lot of people feel like their show should have ended at season 5, and they think like him and Lisa, because that's what happens in the end when Sam goes into hell in the cage with Lucifer. It ends with Dean being with Lisa and just kind of having to me. I'll make the argument. I'll talk about this more when we get to like season 5, but I just don't really think that would have been a good place to end. I never liked the idea of have Dean have a happy life and then Sam just be in hell. I just have never really liked the idea. But going back to season 3, this season's pretty good too. It's more of a, I would call it a building season where they start escalating things. Lilith, you kind of had like another big bag because Yellow Eyes is dead. Um, Bella does eventually get killed, and Bella could have been interesting because I do like Lauren Cohan as an actress. I've seen her in stuff where she's good. It's just I would have rather them try to make her a good character than all they had her really do that season was constantly fuck over Dean and Sam, and it it got tiresome to where I almost just skip her story arc now. I just kind of skip. Thankfully, she's not in the season long, and it would have been cool to have a reoccurring another character that Sam and Dean know, you know. And but I just felt like she just wasn't compelling, and sorry about that. They just had her fuck over Dean and Sam constantly. It got like ridiculous after a while. I was like, okay, the first time, but then it had her just do it the entire like fucking time. It got old. Um, yeah, cause she steals like the Colt and tries to sell it. This is where they track down Lilith. Ruby comes in for the save by the this is the finale where they confront Lilith, who Poe is under basically in disguise as like a woman who has like this witch crew, which she just uses to get more power. Ruby confronts her. Dean does end up killing her, but the Hellhounds come and they end up taking Dean, and it cuts to black. Um, but season 3 is pretty good. It's a building season. I like the introduction of Lilith. Um, oh, I think I skipped over an entire character. Hold on. Um, Never mind. Like this is where Dean, Dean doesn't trust um Ruby because she's a demon. That they even had like a fight, which was kind of a funny fight to be honest. And this is where we have the introduction of the knife, which kills demons. Um, So Bobby helps them. Yeah, I like season 3. It's a building season. It's not, especially compared to some of the other seasons, especially like season 4 and 5, which I will say are probably better than 3. I still think 3's good. It's just season 1, I even think 2 is a bit better, but I think 3 is fine. I think 3 is just a building season to get to kind of where we get to in the later seasons. So I thought season 3 does a good job with that. Bella was kind of a waste of time. Oh, I forgot to mention the hunter. I can't think of his name right now. That fucking um who ends up hunting Dean because and Sam because he ended up setting up vampires to because these were vampires that are peaceful. And this is actually where you have Amy Benson, who's Tara, who has a cameo. I think this was like season 1. Um, Gordon, that's who I was thinking of. Gordon, who is a really good act played by Sterling K. Brown, who I liked Gordon as a character, but he should have been killed off way earlier. I think that's one of my big issues with Gordon. I thought he was too reoccurring. That's why I didn't want to talk about him much. But he was a decent like human antagonist. So, but going back to season 3, I think it's a good season. It's just a building season. But let's get to season 4. Season 4 picks up where Dean comes back from purgatory. He's pulled out from hell. He talks with Sam, and this is where we meet psychic Pamela, and this is also where we meet Sam. I mean Castiel for the first time, who brought Dean back because he needs it for God's work, and then Sam is able to use his powers, and he starts drinking demon blood, which activates his powers more. And he's working with Ruby, who's now in a different form. It's a different actress at this point. Um, and this is where you Sam and Dean's relationship is very much tested because they do go at it. Like they actually have a fight by the end, um, and then this is where they start the apocalypse. That's kind of where the show does. This is where the show, not necessarily, I won't say jump the shark, but it does just move on from just being, killing monsters. Like this is where angels, like Castiel, I'm pretty sure Lucifer is freed and gets a vessel. And yeah, Lucifer's introduced. Um, this is where we meet Chuck, who's initially he's a prophet and he's a writer who this is where they actually break the fourth wall and have like the supernatural books, which are fucking great. I even love the commentary on like the one bad episode about the truck, because to me that's like the only really bad episode for me, like in term, and then the finale that I'm like I actually think are bad. There's some arcs like, okay, I think 12 has some bad episodes, but I think 12, even if that was my least favorite season, it starts off fine. I think it's just the British men of letters are not handled well. Um, but season 4 is a very much good. I think I love the storytelling. I love the one-off episodes. They face old enemies. They still do, even with angels, still do make time to hunt and do all that. Um, and that the demons want to open all the seals. This is where Sam and Dean fucking fight, you know, by the end because of what happened with Ruby. And then Dean gets kidnapped by Zachariah, he's fucking great. He's a great antagonist, especially in terms of for the Angels. And um by the end, the seal's lifted. Um, Lucifer's free. They end up killing Ruby, and so this is where and now getting to season 5, which a lot of people have argued should have been the last season. Um, this is where Lucifer is introduced as like a character. And I love his introduction. Like Meg is back. Granted, she's a different actress now. She's full on demon now. Castiel is gone. And they need Michael's sword. Um, because the destiny is that they need Dean to be the vessel for Michael, well, to take out Lucifer and make it fulfill this big prophecy. Um, and that's also where we're introduced to Death. And Death is a character who I feel like has been very much. That's one of the other weaker things of the show I think happened. They recast Death later on, and I be honest, the Death they recast it just wasn't good. She was okay, but the Death in this had presence. Some of my favorite seasons were Death and Dean scenes. Um, in that Lucifer wants Sam to be his vessel, and yeah, there's a moment they separate, which I'll be honest, I always hate those moments in the show. I get why sometimes they have to happen, but I don't know. It's for me. It's just like I want to have the brothers together, even if they're arguing. Sometimes they have to put their shit aside. This is also where we learn that John had a kid with a different family. So they have a half brother who ends up being Lucifer's real vessel. This is where you meet actually, no, I forgot to mention. You meet Trickster in season 2 or 3. And we actually get the reveal that he's actually Gabriel, Lucifer's brother. But he wants to stay out of it. And he poses as the Trickster, which I love the way they tie things up. Because yeah, initially you think he's just a guy named the Trickster, but it turns out no, he's an angel or an archangel. So the plan is they want to trap Lucifer in hell, but Lucifer obviously takes over Sam's body in the finale. And season 5, I think, it could have. I can see the argument to an extent of why it was the last season, because you have big culminations and all that. And, Cass is back. And it ends with Sam. The hole opens to hell, or in the cage, and Sam tackles Gabriel and not Gabriel, Adam, and they both go in the cage, and that's how this show ends. We have season ends. You have Dean with Lisa and her kid basically, I guess the argument is they feel like, oh, Dean and Sam's maybe dead, but for me it doesn't work as the finale because I don't like the idea of Sam just being trapped in hell and I guess Dean lives a happy life. I think that's too dark for me. I think that would have been way too dark to end at. I get it. I get the idea, but to me, I'm fine with the show continuing because I actually like the Mark Kane story. I just wish it was, a bit more drawn out. But I do like it, and we wouldn't have got it if fucking. And I love Soulless Sam in season 6, so we wouldn't have gotten that. I feel like if they stopped at 5, and I'm just not a fan of that being the ending. Um, but season 5 overall is still a great season. I love the way it does culminate. You know, God's. I think this is where Chuck basically becomes God at this point. No, he's still Chuck. He becomes God later on. But I do. It does have a nice narration of Chuck narrating the story, which does seem like. I guess I could see some people saying that part does feel like an ending, but I'm okay with the show continuing. I'm just gonna be honest, and maybe that's selfish of me, but I don't know. I think it had it. I think I feel like we it would have ended well. It ended better in my mind at season 15, episode 19, where they both are just having a beer. We have a new god. The monsters are all gone. I think that's a better ending for me than just Dean having a happy life and then Sam's just stuck in the cage. I don't really know if I like that ending. I'm just gonna be honest. I think that wouldn't have sat well with me. That was the finale. Like I think I've compared like I've seen some people even say that with Buffy, that Buffy season 5, the gift should have been the because it originally was planned to be the finale. And to be honest, I think that I see more. I actually am more okay with that being the finale for Buffy than this being the finale for this show. I just gotta be honest. I think the way that ended, there's more of an argument. I don't really think I would have been satisfied if this was the ending. If I'm being honest. But season now let's get to season 6. Season 6 picks up where 5 left off, and this is a whole year. Dean's been not hunting. He's kind of lived a normal life with Lisa and her son Ben. Sam has been actually back for like a year and a half. Um, and this is where we get the reveal that Sam doesn't have a soul. So he came back with no soul. Um, and this is where we kind of get the soulless Sam arc. And Sam's, obviously much more different with no soul. I do like. There's even compilations where it's just Sam with no soul, just saying like the funniest shit, like the most out of pocket shit. Sorry guys, I don't know why this shit got stuck. But I do like this arc, and because usually like Sam is like obviously the like he tries to be the more rational one usually, and Dean's like the hothead. So this is where like they switch like the because Dean's usually the more blunt one, and Sam's like obviously tries to say stuff with a bit more empathy and all that, and it's like reverse where Dean has to play that role now. And I'll admit that shit was fun. Obviously, we find out he doesn't have a soul. Um, and this is where Crowley's first introduced as a character, and I love him, man. And I like he wasn't a villain. Like he has his own motives, but I would not really call him a villain because he did help the boys. He would help the boys. Obviously, he wanted something in return, but he was a cool addition. Him and Rowena. Um, and this is where you meet Balthazar. I think this is the season where I love where Balthazar just there's a whole episode where he decided to stop the Titanic from happening just literally because he hated the movie. I thought that was the funniest shit because I hate the movie too. It's so great. And overall, it's just season 6 was just this is where I will agree. It's not as good as, let's say, seasons 3, 4, and 5 were like back and back. Um, this is where Cass works with Crowley because they want to get because Castiel's been like lying to him about stuff. And this is where Lisa and Ben's story ends because he asks Cat because they got possessed by a demon. So after being able to exorcise the demon, they just had their minds erased. So he doesn't want to risk hurting them. I'm okay with this, but I would have liked more. I did like Lisa, but she could have been a nice reoccurring love interest if you ever wanted to explore that again. You could have even brought her back in the finale, the last season, but it's fine. I guess they felt like they didn't really need those characters anymore, so it is what it is. Um, so Cass ends up dying, basically again, or temporarily they take him out. This is where we start the setup for the Leviathan and Purgatory. Um, so ends season 6 with Cass seemingly being the new god, and he has like all these new powers. So you wonder what's going on. And season 6, I'll agree, is probably one of the start of the weaker seasons. It's not bad. I love the Soulless Sam stuff. I do feel like it just ends abruptly though. I do feel like towards the end it would have been kind of interesting to see more of Sam because he was devolving and into potentially killing people, and I just felt like they just maybe they didn't want to go too far with it, and they just felt like, okay, we're just gonna wrap this arc right now and just get to the stuff with Crowley and all that. So it is what it is. Season 6 is all right. I would get, if I were to rank it, rate it out of 10, it'd probably be a 7. I think it's a good season. It's just not as good as some of the first 5 seasons. I think are better, but 6 is decent. 7, I'll be honest, this is where we do get some of the mid seasons, though. I do really like 9. I really like season 9. But this is, I guess we're on the last season I'm going to review for the video. And then I'll do seasons 8 through 15 tomorrow. So the season starts with season 7 with Cass as being the new god, but it turns out he's possessed by Leviathans. And then they seeming like, with having no use for him, they seemingly kill Cass. So Cass is kind of gone for a portion of this season. And this is where Leviathans start taking over people around the world. And this is where we're introduced to Dick Roman, who's actually one of my favorite villains of the show. He's actually one of my favorite things about season 7. Unfortunately, they do kill Bobby, because there's an episode where they do a rescue mission, try to steal something from Dick Roman, but Dick ends up shooting Bobby. Though there's an episode where Bobby is in the hospital, but you're like in his mind about to reach death, and you go through his different adventures throughout the seasons. This is where you meet Rufus, who's a friend of Bobby's, who's a fellow hunter, who I love Rufus. He's a great character. I love some of their seasons where some episodes where you just look in there that they do their own thing. Like, because they actually are hunters who hunted together all the time. So, unfortunately, yeah, Bobby does die. And I will say, I'm not a fan of them killing Bobby so early, especially when they do bring in a different Bobby from a different dimension um, later on. So I would have you could have kept Bobby alive. I would have kept him alive through at least maybe season 9, and then maybe you kill him off, but not right. I think they did kill him a bit too early. The other issue I have are the Leviathans as antagonists. They're not that interesting. Like, the start of it was interesting, and then you just get these really bad CGI looking creatures with like teeth on their face, and that's it. And I also think they're a little too OP. Though I did love the episode where Dean and Sam are doing an investigation into witch killings, and it turned you have a James Marsters and Charisma Carpenter, who you may know as Spike and Cordelia from Angel and Buffy. They play witches who basically killing people because they're wanting to spite each other, and actually they don't actually. I like that they don't get killed even in the end. James's character helps the boys kill off one of the Leviathans. The Leviathans, I think, were a cool idea. And I like the idea of them trying to take over the world. They were going to make this food that basically mind controls people. That stuff was interesting. Dick Roman was a pretty compelling villain. This is also where you meet another reoccurring character in Charlie, who I'm hit and miss on the character with her. I think this should have been her only season. Maybe you bring her back one more time in one of the later seasons, but they kept bringing her back. And I don't think she should have been in 10 at all. I'm in the camp. She should have been gone way before 10. I think you should have her in this season. Maybe you bring her back one more time in season 8 or 9, and then you wrap her character arc there. Explains she goes to Oz with her girlfriend by the end. I think that's in season 9, or yeah, I think that's in season 9. That should have just been it. I think that's where you could have wrapped her character arc there. You didn't need to bring her back. Because I did feel like she was kind of fan fiction-y. Like, she was just there to be a stand-in for somebody, and I don't love that shit. But I did like, you have Dick Roman. I did like some of the one-off episodes. Dean and Sam's relationship very much still carries this season. Their reaction to Bobby's death, which was pretty sad. And then they would have Bobby kind of posing as a ghost. And I actually love the finale of season 7. That's where Dean ends up going to purgatory by the end, even though after killing Dick Roman. And Bobby being able to put some of the stuff with Bobby being a ghost is pretty funny. So I like that Bobby was still part of the season, even though they killed him. But season 7, I think I would give about the same rating I gave season 6, about a 7. I think mostly it was good. I didn't love the Leviathans. I did feel like they were a bit too OP, and also didn't love the design of them. I did like that Cass comes back in the end, because he comes back in season 8, or the start of season 8. So season 7 is a solid season. It's just, I know a lot of the Supernatural fan base does not like the Leviathans, and I don't hate them. I still can watch the storyline. I can't agree. It could have been done better though. But Dick Roman's a great villain, and you wanted him to get it, especially after killing Bobby. And when he got killed, it was pretty satisfying. And I thought the season 7 finale was pretty good. Seeing Dean going to purgatory, and and what's going to be the fallout from that. And then Dean and Sam having to burn the flask, which they didn't want to do. because they want to have still some memory of Bobby, which was sad. Um, but yeah, I overall really did like Supernatural season 7. But other than that, guys, I'm gonna kind of call it here. Supernatural season 7 was pretty good. I really am liking these TV show reviews I've been kind of doing. Maybe I'll do that with some other shows. Maybe 24. I'll do that with 24 at some point. Um, Trying to think of another show I would maybe do that with. Um, Maybe like some of the DCAU shows, like Batman the Animated Series and Justice League, and do some stuff on those maybe at some point too. Like, because I have been enjoying these TV reviews. I don't know. I still want to mainly do movie reviews, but TV stuff occasionally here and there. Maybe Daredevil at some point. We'll see how Daredevil season 4 wraps, or 3. Sorry, because I don't think, I doubt it, or 4. Fuck, I'm high. Daredevil season 4. This new, pretty much is what this new Daredevil show is looking like. We'll see how this wraps, but I'm assuming there's gonna be another season. I don't see them just, especially if it gets a really good response, then yeah, they're definitely gonna do another season. So that's gonna be an ongoing show. So maybe I won't do ongoing shows. Like I probably won't do Reacher as much as I like Reacher. I'm gonna wait till it wraps. I'll look into shows that are like wrap, like Supernatural's done, Buffy's done, Angel's done. So I can just kind of do a big overview of the entire series, you know? But yeah, I've been enjoying them. So other than that, man, I think Supernatural is a great show. It's one of those that stands the test of time. It's very much fun to rewatch. I have rewatched it a lot. I'll be honest. It's one. It's an easy just rewatch for me. It's just easy to just put on, and sometimes it's just put on just to have the music in the background that they play. So, but yeah, guys, that's my Supernatural discussions through season 7. I'll be doing part 2 tomorrow. I'm gonna try to do it early tomorrow. But yeah. Other than that, guys, we should be reviewing Dynamite on Pin Down tonight, so look out for that. And then subscribe, link will be in the description. And then yeah, Supernatural discussion part 2. The last 7 seasons. 8 through 15. But anyways, talk to y'all later.